Good evening. Today marks day one of a three-day strike by thousands of BC teachers. The job action is to protest a lack of negotiations with the provincial government. And the strike also means that thousands of students stayed home today. Rafalina Siriani has more on what happened in Kamloops today.
An estimated 1,000 Kamloops teachers gathered at the Calvary Temple this morning to discuss strategy and arm themselves with information on the first day of their full-scale strike.
We want to make sure that everybody understands and has had the questions answered that they have before they're out, talking with the public, with the parents, making sure that they can explain why they're out there and that they understand fully what the decision that we made was.
Teachers will be out at area schools tomorrow handing out leaflets and discussing the issues, ones like seniority, class size, and funding for special needs. KTTA President Jason Karpuk admits the fight between the government and the BC teachers has become a public relations battle.
Unfortunately, the negotiations really should be happening behind closed doors between the two, the employer and the union.
Across District 73 today, schools sat empty, with just a handful of students showing up.
We've been very fortunate and very grateful for parents and understanding the very difficult situation that everybody is in. And I know it's very difficult for them too, especially parents with young children that have to look at daycare.
CUPE members are still on the job, however. Local 3500 President John Hall says his members are keeping themselves busy catching up on work. Hall says his union stands behind the teachers in their fight with the BC government.
We will do what we can to support them because we believe in free collective bargaining. We haven't had that in British Columbia in a number of years.
CUPE as well still has no contract with the BC government. So far, classes are expected to resume Thursday, but that could change. The district will be keeping parents informed on the situation as it unfolds, with voice messages going to households. Parents are also encouraged to listen to media reports and visit the district's website for information. As teachers prepare to take their message to the streets, this morning they used the informational session as an opportunity to also give back, donating 500 pounds of food as well as cash to the Kamloops Food Bank.
A gesture to say, hey, we still care about those kids and we really want them to be successful, and part of that is having food in their stomach.
The Liberal government has tabled legislation that would force an end to the dispute. Debate on Bill 22 began this afternoon, but when it will pass is anybody's guess. Under parliamentary rules, each MLA is allowed to speak for up to 30 minutes. And Government House Leader Rich Coleman expects a lengthy debate.
Well, each MLA can speak for up to 30 minutes, right? So if there's 33 of them, cut it in half, and that's the allotment of time they would have to speak in that particular. But then they can do amendments at second reading and try and extend the debate again. And so it's up to them how long they go.
Now that they have the legislation tabled and before the House, it strikes me that we should move along. I've made it abundantly clear that all of my colleagues want to speak to this bill. That means 17 hours of debate before we get to clause-by-clause discussion. That means we're going to be here for a while.
Close to 400 people gathered at Riverside Park over the weekend to show their support for BC teachers. The Kamloops-Thompson Teachers Association was joined by local politicians and other unions to protest the government's Bill 22. They feel this legislation will have a negative impact on the rights of teachers and the quality of education in the province. Gareth Maddock-Jones reports.
We are here to draw the government's attention that workers are not going to put up with this anymore.
The man representing teachers in Kamloops is fed up. He believes the introduction of Bill 22 by the Education Minister is not in the best interest of students and teachers.
This legislation is not about putting teachers back to work. This legislation is about enforcing the government's mandate.
The BC government is hoping Bill 22 will improve education, but Jason Karpuk sees many flaws in the legislation.
I want this to be about workers' rights.
With the erosion to special needs, the removal of the cap in a classroom, and the idea that there is going to be compensation for teachers who are willing to take more students, that's asking teachers to jeopardize students' learning for an increase.
We students know when something is wrong. We students know when something is awry.
Several students attended the rally. Benjamin Friedman, much like his father Tom, an NDP candidate, is critical of provincial government policy.
It's pretty undemocratic and the fact that they'd be fining teachers for speaking out and for standing up for themselves. I think that that's not the kind of bill that should be passed in the government of a country that I want to live in.
While teachers are on strike for 3 days, causing an interruption to education, they want the public to understand a potentially greater disruption is at stake.
We need to think big picture. This legislation will remove the teacher's ability to negotiate every single important point in education forever. And this is going to have a dramatic effect in the classroom, and we've seen that effect for the last 10 years, and this is the final push that's pushed teachers to the edge.
We need to make sure that this government understands that the workers of this province are not going to put up with that.
The Kamloops Thompson Teachers Association is now educating their members on Bill 22. However, Education Minister George Abbott has expressed concern this legislation is being misinterpreted by the teachers' union. Regardless of this frustration, local representation of teachers remains adamant in their distaste for the bill. Gareth Maddock-Jones, CFJC News.
With teachers off the job for the next 3 days, hundreds of thousands of students are getting a taste of freedom just 2 weeks before spring break arrives. And while some parents stayed home today, others turned to daycares or recreational facilities where their children spent the day. Chad Klassen reports.
Kids are out of school and apparently many are just staying home. Daycares around Kamloops are much less busy than first expected in lieu of the 3-day walkout by BC teachers. The Kamloops United Preschool made special arrangements to deal with the anticipated demand, but it housed only 6 school children today.
We let all of our parents know that we were going to be open and available for all of the children to come. Some parents have chosen to use days off, sick days, whatever, so that they are able to stay home with their child. Some are having sleepovers, I know that. So I'm expecting more children tomorrow.
Other organizations like the Boys and Girls Club of Kamloops took in 25 school kids and expect that number to double by Wednesday.
We love kids and we love to have them here, and we're just sort of all pulled together and tried to accommodate as many as we possibly could with maintaining our ratios and making sure that the kids are in a safe place.
Tracy Anderson, Director of School Recreation Programs, says the increased demand is something they've been preparing for since the announcement of the walkout.
When the word came out that there was going to be a strike, that we, or a walkout, that we were able to, parents started calling us right away, and we were checking in with all of our families, so calling our membership base.
Of course, most kids think the break from the classroom is great.
It's pretty cool because I get to be here and do a bunch of cool stuff. It's good, but I like school a lot too.
But come Thursday, no more shooting pool for these kids. They'll be back in school. Chad Klassen, CFJC News.
And a reminder for motorists that RCMP will be enforcing school speed zones during the 3-day strike by teachers. While classes are not in session for the next few days, schools are open, children could be coming and going. The 30-kilometer-an-hour speed limit remains in effect, and police are urging drivers to remain vigilant and to slow down.
This has always been a priority for the officers who are out during the early morning times to keep an eye on all the school zones, and I'm sure with time and resources permitting, they would continue to do that, but it's not something that we've specifically targeted because of the ongoing labor disruption within the schools.